In January 1966, a B-52 bomber departs Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in North Carolina. On board are 7 U.S. Air Force crew. Their mission is named Operation Chrome Dome. They work for Strategic Air Command. This is a hot time in the Cold War. B-52 bombers fly nuclear-armed missions to the borders of the Soviet Union. The idea is to have nuclear-armed bombers in the air continuously. This puts them into the closest range to Russia, without crossing into Soviet airspace. If nuclear war is not declared, the crews return to the US and another aircraft takes over the mission. It is a long and tiring flight for the crew. Before their return flight over the Atlantic, the B-52 bomber needs to be refueled. US Air Force has a base in Spain that is ideal for this refueling mission. KC-135 tanker aircraft are airborne and available for the giant B-52 to top off their tanks before heading home. On the morning of January the 17th, 1966, the B-52 bomber closes in on the KC-135 tanker aircraft. After 11 hours in the air, this will be a complicated maneuver for a tired crew. Just as refueling is finishing, something goes wrong. The bomber and tanker catch fire, collide, and both fall out of the sky in flames. 4 B-52 crew members eject and are able to escape the burning plane. 7 crew on board the KC-135 tanker perish. The fiery wrecks hit the ground, crashing into the tiny Spanish town of Palomares. Burning fuel ignites 2 of the hydrogen bomb's high explosive spheres. Heat from the fire melts the plutonium core, sending radioactive dust, smoke, and particles into the air. Another bomb hits a field next to the town cemetery. The 4th nuclear bomb is seen falling out of the sky by a fisherman. It passes his tiny boat and plunges 5,000 feet into the Mediterranean Sea. The Palomares incident is devastating for the local community and a disaster for the US Air Force. The code name for a lost nuclear device is Broken Arrow. The town of Palomares is evacuated. A cleanup team from the US arrives to recover the wreckage. Radioactive dust contaminates everything. 490 acres of tomato crops are destroyed, and local people now live in a nuclear waste. The remains of 3 nuclear bombs are recovered, and a race begins to retrieve the 4th bomb at the bottom of the sea. Russian spy ships with underwater rescue equipment and the US Navy play cat and mouse on the seabed for 87 days. The military-funded Alvin submarine from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute in Massachusetts recovers the bomb. The bomb has not detonated, but has a large dent in the warhead. Topsoil and contaminated crops are removed and recovered to a nuclear waste dump in the US. In an effort to prove the area is safe, the US ambassador to Spain, with some Spanish politicians, swim in the Mediterranean Sea at Palomares.
Ambassador, do you detect any radioactivity in the water?
If this is radioactivity, I love it.
Today, the town and surrounding area are still contaminated. After years of disputes, the US military are finally cleaning up and monitoring the land and the town's people for radiation. Sadly, plutonium dust went airborne and landed on the local mountain range, which has been recently closed after over 30 years of goat herding. Over 2 pounds of plutonium was never recovered. The Broken Arrow accident at Palomares is a warning from history of an accident that could happen again.